Well, hello and welcome to the Tennis Podcast, coming to you on day 6 of the Australian Open from, of course, the Creator Lounge in the Media Centre at Melbourne Park, on a day that has seen comebacks, thrashings and Yulia Putintseva. More on that later, folks. Round 3 action got underway today. The weather was absolutely perfect and Matt's parents were here.
They were here. And they had a lovely day.
Yeah, every time I turned round to look at them in their seats, they were beaming. They had 4 hats, 2 each.
Yep, my mum came with her pod hat, my dad with his flat cap, and they were both given free hats, which they accepted gladly.
The Roberts' are hat people. They're one step away from a koala baseball cap, I reckon.
There's a lot of those around this year, I tell you. They've realised, they work. We're going to have every colour under the sun.
You've hashtag influenced, David.
In fact, I'm going to put mine on.
Yes, David.
Yeah.
Shall we start while David puts his koala ears hat on? Shall we start by talking about one of the 2 thrilling comebacks that your parents witnessed on the second court today? Coco Gauff beating Hailey Baptiste 3-6, 6-love, 6-3. Now, I think a lot of the time we're guilty of, or certainly I am guilty of, looking at, Coco Gauff losing a set, being in trouble. She must be playing badly. Her serve must be a disaster. That forehand must be falling apart. And look, I don't think that first set was the cleanest, best set she's ever played. But I don't think any of those things are the reason she lost it. I think Hailey Baptiste is the reason she lost it. And the reasons she didn't end up winning the match are that she had to produce a level to win that set that she was unable to maintain for the rest of the match. And Coco Gauff knew that. It was one of those where she was like, okay, well, first set was close. I can keep doing this all day. What have you got?
Yeah, that was my read on this match too. I thought Baptiste was outstanding in that first set, particularly the latter half of it, and the stats flashed up at the end that she'd hit 12 winners in the set and Coco Gauff hadn't hit one. It was totally Baptiste bossing the rallies, taking charge, getting her forehand into play, and really impressing, I think, everyone, my parents included, on the second court. Like a fun game and taking it to a top seed. That's kind of what you want to see from Hailey Baptiste. But at her best, she is often playing a bit of a high wire act anyway, because she does take risks in a way that some players don't. And if you're Coco Gauff, I think you are okay with someone like Baptiste having to take those risks against you, because you know that sustaining it is blooming difficult. And frankly, Baptiste couldn't sustain it, and Gauff improved her own game, found a better percentage of serves to sort of help there, and then really put the pressure on the returns, as she so often does. And there was an absolutely crucial lengthy fourth game of that second set, which was a real back and forth, and when Gauff won it, got the double break, that really felt like the moment to me that she was still a set down, but now really in charge of this match and asking Baptiste to come up with just great shots time and time again to be able to live with her. And she couldn't do that, and Gauff ended up, I thought, really being in control of those second and third sets. And yes, she's lost the opener here, but it didn't feel to me like a huge scare today for Coco Gauff. She faced an opponent playing brilliantly in that first set, but then got it under control pretty quickly after that, and I was impressed by how she played in those second and third sets.
And she now plays Karolina Muchova. Can I have a big yes please for that, everyone?
Yes, please. It's quite interesting that I wasn't quite aware that was her next opponent when I was watching this match against Hailey Baptiste, because the thought flashed through my head that Baptiste has not a dissimilar game to Muchova, and you can cause a player like Gauff some issues with an all-court game, especially but it all has to be functioning perfectly, because actually in the past when I've seen her play Muchova, she's kind of handled her. Just her movement and her responses, her counter-attacking is too much, and it's a huge credit, I think, to Baptiste that she managed to impose herself the way she did. But I think that the players really that, unless Gauff is having a really bad day with her serve or with her forehand, the players that end up beating her are more like last year's Paula Badosa type player, somebody with an absolutely stone-cold forehand that just ends rallies without you having much say in the matter. And whilst Baptiste has a good forehand and Muchova has a good forehand, they don't have that concussive forehand that just, no matter where you are on the court, it can hit a winner from with reliability. And I think Gauff's in a good place. I do think Muchova's playing well though as well. She's moving very nicely into form. So that
was one of the thrashings today, 1-1 against Magdalene.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not that surprised by that. I think that is a bad matchup for a Linette, and I don't think she's in Muchova's class if Muchova's fit and playing well. It's so rare, even now, all these years on, it's still so rare to not really be thinking of Karolina Muchova's fitness when you watch her play tennis matches, and at the moment, I'm not.
Please knock on wood as you say that, David.
There you go. But I just feel as though she is probably looking as healthy and as happy on a court as I've seen her, Karolina Muchova. I realise I'm tempting fate and I apologise for it. But when I think back to her at the US Open when she had a run and she ended up bowing out to Naomi Osaka in the end, every match was a saga. Every match was dramatic and she was hanging on and fighting. Great credit to her. But this is the player that may have legs in a Grand Slam to go really deep. Problem is she's got to find a way past Coco Gauff.
Yeah, who, as you said, she has often, always struggled against. And I do think for Muchova it's probably an advantage that this match is coming now in the fourth round rather than later in the tournament, where there's potential for her to have accumulated more matches in her legs or picked up a little niggle kind of along the way, as she often does. And she's also not really a closer of tournaments, Muchova. Like she doesn't have that many titles. She tends to play her best stuff going through the rounds like this. So I do think it's a very dangerous match for Gauff. But given the head-to-head, I would have to back Gauff to win it, and being able to use the movement and the physicality to negate Muchova without the one big strength, the all-rounded game. I think generally Gauff can kind of cope with that. You look at her record against Andreeva as well. Like you do need a bit of a weapon to be able to get through Gauff, and Muchova can hurt you in lots of ways, but doesn't just have that one singular reliable way that she can lean on. And I think over the course of a match, Gauff figures that out. But I can't wait for it. Like it's really popping off the page that for a fourth round between Gauff and Muchova.
As is Aryna Sabalenka against Victoria Mboko, which is a fourth round that was set up today. Not in style by Sabalenka, it has to be said. Like, this might be her duffer match that she's managed to navigate without dropping a set, which is incredible. Winning ugly is an important skill, but this was pretty ugly from Sabalenka. 7-6, 7-6 over Anastasia Potapova, who had 4 set points in the second set to take this into a decider. This was an off day for Aryna Sabalenka.
Yeah, I think some credit needs to go to Potapova as well, not only for fighting but also for showing some power and being able to move side to side with Sabalenka. That's the best I've ever seen her play. But even so, Sabalenka has to be off, I think, in that matchup in order to not win it comfortably. And one of the interesting numbers that jumped out at me was that she was 4-love up in the second set. 4-love up, Aryna Sabalenka, and then ends up in a tie-break. I mean, that is a pretty unheard of collapse from her, by her standards.
Yeah, lost serve 3 times from 4-love up to end up in a second set tie-break. And of course, like, the one thing this match has done is continue to show that she has this incredible tie-break record and even bolster it. Like, I know she lost couple of tiebreaks at the end of last season, like her streak is over, but it's still going in the slams. It's now 19 tiebreaks in a row that she's won in Grand Slams, which equals Novak Djokovic's record for the most ever at slams. She hasn't lost one since 2023 at a slam. Like, it's pretty remarkable. And like, that second set tiebreak was a classic, how do you read this match? Because there were some shots in there that were, frankly, by Sabalenka's standards, ragged and pretty bad, really. But then when she absolutely needed to, she got it together and played a great point to save a set point with some really big hitting. So then you end up thinking, oh, well, was she actually kind of clutch in this match to end up coming through the tiebreaks as she so often does? But, like, I don't know, she's not in the form so far this tournament that I thought she was going to be in, having seen her in Brisbane and having seen her here before. Like, I know, like, you know, maybe I'm reading way too much into it. You know, she's by most people's standards cruised through in straight sets without dropping one into the second week. But her game has looked a little inconsistent at times. But she's upset proof, isn't she, Sabalenka? Like, she does not lose early in majors. She just doesn't. And here we are again with her making it through to the second week. But she's got her hands full now because Mboko is there.
It was her press conference after the match, Sabalenka. Have you seen the transcript for this?
There's a lot of Gucci chat.
It was an advertorial for Gucci.
Oh, no.
She put some Gucci sunglasses on midway through. Yeah.
Okay, one of those.
Yeah. One of those. She's got a Gucci deal.
She's very pleased about it.
In case you didn't know, yeah. And
good for her. Great.
You would be.
Yeah.
And it's good for tennis to have that exposure. Yeah. Sure, cool, lovely. Mboko beat Towson 7-5, 5-7, 6-3. This was a banger.
It really was. Yeah, I mean, two of my faves, really, and they're different kinds of players. You've got the stand and deliver tennis of Towson, who was really teeing off, and it's sort of bone rattling power that she's got, and then you've got Mboko, who just has a bit of everything. She has the athleticism, she can really strike a big ball herself, but it's not quite the same sort of one punch power. And you had the drama of her having 2 match points in the second set and not taking them, setting them up with her sort of trademark backhand and movement, and Towson having the answers, and then taking it into a third and it getting really very twitchy. I actually think that's a big win from Mboko. I mean, I went in her press conference afterwards and kind of asked her about the rhythms of Grand Slam tennis, and which is still so new to her, and she just takes it all in a stride. And I get the feeling that, I mean, obviously she's thrilled to have won this match, but she's also learnt something from this match too. Every time she's going out there, she's banking information and seems to be a pretty extraordinary student as she's going along. Doesn't seem overawed by the fact she's about to play Sabalenka. She just sounds excited by it. I mean, she's got huge respect for her, but she's buzzing. And she's buzzing that she's going to probably play on the biggest court, and she loved that she was playing out there today. She's a good news story for the sport of tennis, and I feel a bit for Towson because she's yet to have that big Grand Slam win, and this could have been her chance. But Mboko has more than she does.
Does she have enough for Sabalenka?
I think Sabalenka needs to be on. I don't think Sabalenka gets away with playing like she did today.
I'd agree with that. I mean, I think I would expect Sabalenka to step up, but if she doesn't, I agree that Mboko's got the confidence and the weapons to really trouble her. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if Sabalenka can raise it.
So Gauff, Mukova, Sabalenka and Mboko both set up as round of 16 matches that'll be played on Sunday. We have also had Iva Jovic against Yulia Putintseva. set up. One of those two will be an Australian Open quarter-finalist. Yulia Putintseva booked her place in the round of 16 via a 6-3, 6-7, 6-3 victory on the Kia Arena versus Zeynep Sönmez and all of Turkey. And she celebrated like she had defeated all of Turkey. Matt.
I was living for this. What I enjoyed was the different stages of celebration that Putintseva went through here. Like, first of all, it was like the defiance. It was the giving it to the Turkish fans, finger to the ear, let's hear you now then, that kind of thing.
Blowing kisses.
And she did the real sort of, in fact, Thomas Hatch did it yesterday to the Greek fans, didn't he? She cupping the hand to the ear and then sort of bending over and leaning into the crowd. Like, I can't quite hear you, but once again, please.
Yeah, so that's stage one.
Yeah.
Like, for most people, that would be enough. Like that.
It was enough for Mahatch. I enjoyed it.
You know, like that's enough. I think there were 3 more stages to come for Putintseva. Next, we had Look at Me, which was the bow. Like, just brilliant. Then we had shouting out the Kazakh fans. She was pointing at them and really thanking them for their support. And there was like 2 distinct sections of Kazakh fans amidst the huge swathes of Turkish fans. It really was a brilliant atmosphere out there. So that's stage 3. And then stage 4, pure vibes. Just dancing back to her racket bag and the bench.
Even the dance, I think, had multiple stages. It evolved as it went along. It started off like a swaggery walk, like a dancey walk, and it became sort of almost a twerk.
Yeah. Oh, it was sensational. Like, it goes on for about a minute. From match point to her being finished.
Yeah, and in what was stage 3? How did you phrase it?
Stage 3, shouting out the Kazakh fans.
Kazakhs. Now, as part of that, in her encore interview, she how did she put it?
She said something like, it's better to have smaller support but better support.
I mean, Sönmez had the most incredible support.
And she said that while being booed.
Yeah.
With a huge grin on her face.
Yeah, she got booed off the court with an enormous grin on her face. It was...
It's right in her sweet spot.
Right in her sweet spot.
Yeah. And I mean, also, like, this was a great match as well. You know, I didn't sort of lock into it in quite the same way I did some of the others today, but, you know, I mean, the sort of tactical mastery of Putintseva, you know, a lot of loopy shots. You know, Sönmez, we've seen, you know, she kind of liked playing Alexandra, didn't she? With the flat hit, she takes the ball early. Sönmez, she looks to hit the ball flat off the forehand. Putintseva just wasn't really giving her that, and even after Sönmez had come back in the second set, Putintseva rallied again and managed to win the third. And yeah, I just feel like Sönmez has brought a lot to this opening few days of the tournament. She's had some really great matches, interviews, crowd moments, but yeah, it was just a kind of step too far today for her against Putintseva, who's so experienced in these sorts of environments. She lives for them, and her great quotes continued into the press conference, because she said, "I'm very happy that I kept my calm, because Yulia last year would probably throw something at them."
Yep.
She said she kept calm by singing a song to herself in Russian about rabbits. Which was from a movie that she hadn't seen since she was 14, and she has no idea why it came into her head, because usually she's singing Taylor Swift, but on this particular day she sang about rabbits to just calm herself down.
She's a one-off, isn't she, Yulia?
I think that's
I'll
fair.
say.
Yep.
And in the next round she faces 18-year-old Iva Jovic, the talented young American that we've heard about for a while and is now happening. She's here. I commentated on her 12 months ago, taking on Elena Rybakina in the second round here, I think, and she won 3 games. It was a demolition job. I'd commentated on Rybakina beating Emerson Jones in round 1, and then in round 2 did her match against Jovic, and it looked unfair, both those matches. It looked like putting a child up against a grown woman. And if you told me that only 12 months later, I could see the talent of Jovic, but 12 months later for her to be in the 4th round, not having grown 6 inches, she's the same stature, but she's so much stronger, I would have been really shocked. And this has been a very conscious, concerted effort to grow as strong as possible. I just remember last year her being just instantly pushed 6 feet behind the baseline and scampering around the whole time. And she's got incredible wheels, but there's only so much that scampering can do against the big flat hits of so many of the top WTA players. And yeah, look, she hasn't faced an Elena Rybakina yet, but she's faced some bloody good players and she's beaten them today 6-2, 7-6 against Jasmine Paolini, albeit a slightly ill Jasmine Paolini. We'll touch upon that in a moment, a bit mystified about what exactly was going on, but Iva Jovic is the story here, David. Yeah,
Paolini pretty early on in the first set had the doctor come out and give her some sort of painkiller or a pill anyway, and she didn't look happy. She made it competitive in the second set, but what was immediately noticeable, Paolini hits a pretty big ball. She may not be Rybakina sized, but she hits a top WTA ball, and Jovic just stood up to it and actually got the better of her. She was winning the arm wrestle in that regard. And I agree with you, Catherine. I remember seeing that match, and it's astonishing the progress she's made. And she's played Paolini a couple of times over the last 12 months and lost them both. And then this year she's come out, she's reached a semi-final, a final, and now here she is in the 4th round. And she also had her nerve tested. I was talking earlier on about the way Mboko's having to kind of get these new experiences, and here's Jovic doing the same thing. Twice served for this match, twice got a serve broken, and it would be so easy to collapse, wouldn't it, and tailspin after that when you go into a tie-break. Yet she won the tie-break. I think that, and Paolini was not giving it to her. She was fighting tooth and nail for that. And Jovic, yeah, great win, and really cool story, actually.
And with a bit of coaching from Novak Djokovic, her hero. Her father is Serbian, her mother is Croatian. She's born and raised in California, but goes to Belgrade a lot, has a lot of family there and in other parts of Serbia as well. And she said Djokovic spoke to her yesterday and gave her a tip. And there was a follow-up question in the press conference, what was the tip? And she said... She told us, she said, to open up the court more and find more width. And she said, I tried to do that today and it really worked.
That's cool.
Really cool. On Paolini, what she said about what was going on today was, I lay down on the sofa after lunch and that was a mistake. I couldn't move my best today.
It's a bit amateur hour, isn't it?
It's a bit
from Paolini.
Tsitsipas taking melatonin at the wrong times, isn't it? Look, maybe that was... She clearly wanted to give a lot of credit to her opponent and didn't want to talk too much about whatever was going on physically, but what she did say was bizarre.
That might be where I'm going wrong in life. I quite often lie down on the sofa after lunch.
I think lie down on the sofa after lunch, if you can.
And then can't move my best.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it seemed to be sort of indigestion issues she was having.
I guess so. Yeah, wish you well, Jasmine. We've all been there. She was sad though. She was. She was asked a question about playing in the doubles with Sara Errani, and pick yourself up and play for that. And she really tried to force herself to have a bit of pep about that, but it wasn't really happening. I'm sure she was like, I'll get there, but just not right now.
And Irani's going to need a pick-me-up because she got Siegmunded today in the mixed doubles. Her and Vavasori.
DM me, Sarah. I'm available to form a support group. Aryna Svitolina, the other winner that we've seen in the women's draw today, but she beat Dana Schneider 7-6, 6-3. She will face the winner of the match. Still on court in the Vibeless death slot on Rod Laver Arena, Mira Andreeva currently beating Elena Gabriela Russa. So looking like it's going to be back-to-back Russians for Svitolina. And it was a no handshake match. It was a totally locked-in Aryna Svitolina. I mean, she pretty much always is. She's a heck of a competitor, but you just feel it. There was no way she was not going to win this tennis match. Just no way. She was a break-up in the second set, and she lost the break. She was furious at herself at the sit-down, just at the score being even, just at it being on serve. Like, there's just a look in her eye in these matches. She's not letting them go. So, most likely Andreeva in the next round. We'll keep you posted. It's 5-2 at the moment in that one. That's it for part one. Join us in part two when we'll talk about the first comeback from 2-0 down of the 2026 Australian Open. But first, a word from our lovely sponsors of this episode and every episode of the Tennis Podcast throughout the Australian Open. It is Steve Fergal's International Tennis Tours,
the premium hospitality and experience provider,
and an official ticket and travel package provider of Roland Garros 2026. Steve Fergal's International Tennis Tours offer tennis fans a trusted and secure way to experience one of the sport's most iconic, beautiful, chic, dramatic tournaments in Paris in the springtime. It really is so special, and Tennis Podcast listeners can save 10% on Roland Garros ticket packages with official tickets, and if you want it, access to premium hospitality options. All of it secured the official way, giving you that all-important peace of mind. Whatever package you want to put together for Roland Garros 2026, faff-free always, Steve Fergal's has you covered. So just go to tours4tennis.com/podcast. That's tours, the number 4 tennis.com/podcast, and use the code PARIS10 to save 10%. We'll see you there. Hi everyone, this is Catherine from the Tennis Podcast, and you seem to be listening to the Tennis Podcast, and that is why we want to hear from you. The Athletic are asking you to fill out a quick survey about you and your podcast habits by going to theathletic.com/survey26. Now, 3 lucky entries will win $100 or pounds worth of Amazon vouchers. So whether you're a long-time listener or a new one, we want your feedback. It really would help us out. So just go to theathletic.com/survey26. That's theathletic.com/survey26. And the link is also in our show notes. Thank you. Welcome back to part 2 of today's Tennis Podcast, where there really is only one place to start. It is Daniil Medvedev, the man that has suffered so much Australian Open heartbreak. Well, not today, folks. Today, he became the first player to come from 2-0 down to win at the Australian Open 2026. Watched on by Neil and Pat Roberts, who were not impressed for the first 2 sets with what they were seeing from Daniil Medvedev. But back he came. 6-7, 4-6, 7-5, 6-love, 6-3 against poor old Fabian Marozsan.
Yeah, and I should probably take this opportunity to give a little plug to the newsletter Stat, which is about Medvedev coming back from 2-0 down for the 4th time at the Australian Open that he's done it. And I wanted to know whether that was an Australian Open record and a Grand Slam record for a particular slam, most comebacks from 2-0 down. And I have the answer in the newsletter.
So sign up.
Yes. Okay, promo out the way. Now let's do analysis of the match. Well, I kind of want to know from David how worried he was about Medvedev in this one, because I was quite concerned for him. Like after 2 sets,
I mean, think Marozsan should have won this.
Yeah,
really.
I think it was there for him to win. But I'm curious what you think, David.
He needed to win it in 3. I think, like, as soon as Medvedev won the 3rd, started to feel a bit over. But should Marozsan have won it?
It's interesting. Marozsan had never lost a 5-set match. He'd won 4 and lost none at all. I mean, obviously playing against Medvedev is different. Obviously playing against Medvedev is not like playing everybody else. But really, he was in charge. I think he definitely could have won it today, and he could have won it quickly, but that takes away a little bit from one of Medvedev's superpowers, which is finding a way out of these sort of matches. He is incredibly good at that. But if you're asking me how worried I was, I mean, the question that's more pertinent is how worried I am, because the thing is, you're looking at somebody who said he will reach the final. And that was prefaced not only on Carlos Alcaraz and Juan Carlos Ferreira no longer being an alliance, but also the form that I thought Medvedev was in. Well, this was like watching 2025 Medvedev. Fair play to him, he found a way out of the hole, but how did he get in the hole? And part of that is because his opponent is dangerous. I mean, he's a flat hitter, he's very explosive on both sides, he actually has a greater weighted shot than Medvedev does. But Medvedev wasn't imposing himself enough. The same happened in the previous round that he got through against Contanellis. But then in the second set, Medvedev just fell apart.
He barely make a ball.
He was putting ground stroke after ground stroke into the net, or wide or long. He was double faulting. I thought he was gone, to be honest, in that second set. I thought that was him just out, and he was really agitated with his box. He was mocking them, and all the things that make you think, okay, this feels Benjamin Bonzi-esque. But then you have to also think, well, he dug in and he actually got himself out of it and turned this around, and that's what he wasn't doing a year ago at any point, really. So it's better than it was then, but the fact that he's now got to face Learner Tien, a guy he's gone 5 sets with here and lost last year, and played 2 other 3-set epics and kind of jokes about their marathon matches. You don't want to be playing 3.5 hours and 5 sets and then play Learner Tien, do you?
No, absolutely not. And I think if he plays like he did for much of today, I think Tien will take him. I think he's got too much game for what Medvedev's showing at the moment. Medvedev is going to have to find the kind of form that he had in Brisbane, where I do think slightly the speed of that court was helping him there, like get these shots through a bit more. Like he's doing it at times, but he's sort of struggling to sustain it in these matches so far at the Australian Open. I was pleased today that Marozsan rallied a bit in the 5th, because it did feel like it might be one of those comebacks that on paper looked exciting, but actually wasn't all that exciting in the moment. But actually the fact that Marozsan, who totally went off himself in the way that Medvedev had in the second set, Marozsan kind of did in the 4th set, obviously lost it 6-love, but he got it back in that 5th set and made it really competitive, and there was an absolutely crucial long game. And yeah, just I really enjoyed that 5th set. I felt like Marozsan tried to get to the net a lot more, which I think was a good play, because he'd lost the confidence that he had in his ground strokes early on. But Medvedev did dig in well and resist and end up coming up with the goods. A couple of really nice shots to sort of help him over the line towards the end. But yeah, Tien's a problem for him. Like, even when Medvedev's been playing better, I would feel like Tien would be an issue. So, I can't wait for it. I hope it's not happening at 3 o'clock in the morning this time. That would be an improvement. But from the back of the court, at the moment, Tien's been the more sort of convincing this tournament, I would say.
It's convincing today. I mean, 7-6, 6-4, 6-2 over Borges. Have we all seen his round the net post shot? And it was the most pleasing type of round the net post shot, which is the ones on the umpire's chair side, because they have to thread it through the gap between the chair and the post. And it reminded me of the social media content that I think it was Shanghai produced last year on their official channels, which was the players trying to hit through the very, very small target. It was great content because it was fun and throwaway and watchable, but you actually learned something about the players while watching it, and Tien was one of those that made the target and lots didn't. Like Caboli was miles away.
Catherine, no longer a Caboli guy.
No, that was before I was a Caboli guy.
Yeah, but now you're using as an example.
No,
there were others who missed.
Example, there were others who missed.
You're definitely distancing yourself.
There were others who missed. No, I'm not. I can't kick a guy when he's down. He's got the watery shits.
I hope he still hasn't. Very uncomfortable flight home.
Anyway, Learner Tien was one of those that made it, and he made it on maybe he got a great edit, but he made it on like the first try.
Yeah, there was like a big hole, a medium hole, and then like a hole that was not that much bigger than a tennis ball. And yeah, as you said, very few of them got it through the really small one, and he's
got
did.
so much game. And he's not serving like Riley Opelka, but he does seem to have made improvements. I think Tien might be the favourite for that match.
I wouldn't have thought he's the favourite just because of the history that Medvedev has, the reputation, the pedigree. But at the same time, he did beat him a year ago, Tien, and he is getting better. You're right. I mean, I asked him in the press conference if to compare and contrast himself from a year ago. I mean, he's not that comfortable in press conferences yet, and he said, "Look, he couldn't give hard examples, but he said I feel like I've improved in every way since then." So if he has, and if Medvedev is like he was then he will win Tien. But I'm waiting for Medvedev to step up and just hit out, especially on the serve. He's got to get back to winning.
I don't know
points.
If he can on the serve.
Do you think not?
Well, that's what he's been telling us, isn't it? He hasn't been the same since that hernia operation. He's never been quite specific about why, but I don't think he can. Whether that's because he can't put the time in on the practice court on the serve, or whether there's some kind of physical block or impediment to sort of talk or throw his body into it with full force the way he used to, I don't know. But it's not like he doesn't know it's a problem.
Yeah.
He's known it's a problem for a long time. I can't believe he wouldn't be doing it if he could do it.
I just think he's got to hit out, whether it's on the serve or whether it's in the ground strokes.
He was a pusher for at least a set and a half today.
If you think back to that final he played against Sinner, which I think he was forced into hitting out in the first two sets because he'd played all these 5-set matches, I just think that is a player he's got to get back to, and there were points in this match where he hit out and he looks a better player then.
Yeah, except it was a curious match because actually against Marozsan he ended up dominating the long rallies. There were times when Marozsan was engaging in backhand to backhand exchanges and you knew that Medvedev would end up winning those, but it's the type of long rally. He's got to get the depth on the ball and be hitting with intent rather than just sort of pushing and letting someone dictate him around and push him around. He's got to be able to pin them in the corner and constrict them. That's when long rallies are good for Medvedev. If he's not really doing anything with the ball, Marozsan's good enough to be able to dictate him and run him around. That's what he was kind of doing at the start. I think he got that balance better as the match went on, and then he was starting to hit out as well. I think against Tien, it's just so hard to shorten the rallies. This guy's so good with his hands and can slice the ball back, and he's got the leftiness that can just give Medvedev different angles. And I just see this match being long rallies, and I probably agree he needs to try and shorten some of it, but that's the challenge. Can he do it? It was one of the low-key best rivalries of last year. Every time they played, something dramatic happened. Medvedev got the cramps a lot when they played, and today he took a preventative swig of the pickle juice just as he was about to serve for the match. He said, I wasn't cramping, but I thought I'd better have some pickle juice in case I might start.
Which I have to say, I'm
Smart.
Very smart. Why don't players do that more? Because once you start cramping, you've lost the battle. Preventative pickle juice
Whack it in your
my
water
new
bottle.
agenda. The wildcard agenda needs to go on the back burner for a while. It's suffered suffered quite a bad blow.
So I wonder whether Medvedev's going to have learnt from that in terms of being, how to stop the cramping and the physical issues when he's played Tien in the past. And also, I think he's admitted that last year he kind of underrated Tien because he didn't know that much about him. He knows now. His senses are going to be sharpened, I think, in a couple of days' time, and that hopefully is on his side. But I can't wait for this one. It's going to be great.
I can't wait for the schedule to come out and for it to be second in the night session and for your reaction, Matt.
Yeah, I'll be annoyed. Normally, I kind of like it when a tournament sort of runs something back, if something's happened,
not something that was the picture of a broken sport.
But in this instance, we don't need to do this at 3 a.m. We've done that, and it was bad.
We don't need to follow it with the women's match either.
Right. So, arguably, I'd put it day session, just to avoid those scenarios.
Well, probably the rival for the day session or night session, depending on which way you want to put it, will be Carlos Alcaraz against Tommy Paul. That's the fourth round match that's been set up in that section of the draw. Tommy Paul with a win via retirement over Alejandro Davidovich Fokina, who injured his hamstring in the third game of this match. Can't believe he really struggled on for as long as he did, although it did mean that he gave us one of the most bizarre things I've ever seen, which was he went for Tommy Paul had lofted up a defensive lob. Davidovich Fokina went for the smash, missed it so wholeheartedly that he was able to run back and have another swing at the ball after it bounced.
And he connected with that one but hit it out.
Yes. It was all so chaotically Davidovich Fokina. But obviously it ended very sadly for him. So Tommy Paul through to face Carlos Alcaraz, who, other than a 4-game spell in the second set, utterly thrashed Corentin Moutet today, 6-2, 6-4, 6-1, but a fun 6-2, 6-4, 6-1.
Yes, he kind of did both versions of himself in this match, Alcaraz, because he started off with US Open version, winning the first set, going along to a 3-love lead in the second set, just hammering poor old Corentin, and then he brought out his circus act to combat Moutet's circus act, and that went badly because he won 6 of the next 22 points, did Alcaraz. And listen, some of that was Moutet playing better. He started to find his range, but really just mentally Alcaraz did go walkabout for a while there, and then he got himself back on track and he thrashed him again. So overall, absolutely fine. It was interesting hearing Alcaraz asked about the US Open form, and he didn't want to pretend that he's in that sort of form, I felt. I mean, he was kind of saying, look, every tournament's different, but he was smiling as if to say, that was unreal form and I'm playing fine now. I don't, to my eye test, he's not playing like that, and I don't think he thinks he's playing like that, because he's never played like that before. Just a quick note, the fact that he's got Tommy Paul next, a player he tends to beat. I just love the fact that we're now getting the payoff for the lack of upsets. That is a really good match to be getting, and there's so many of them wherever you turn right now.
Yeah, we've got Alexander Zverev taking on Francisco Cerundolo, and that's been an interesting match in the past. Zverev has had a bit of a Cerundolo problem. I know Cerundolo he was beaten handily by Zverev at the Davis Cup last year, but Matt, you were there for that. Cerundolo was pretty gutted with his performance and maybe feels like he has a point to prove now, and he was so good against Andrei Rublev today. It was really one of those wow, the game has moved on moments, because Rublev is the same player, I think. He's not doing anything differently or wrong to what he was doing when he was number 5 in the world and beating Alex de Minaur here a couple of years ago, but even players like Francisco Cerundolo have moved past him now. Like, he had a bigger, more explosive, more interesting game than Andrei Rublev today, and that's not a name that Zverev, who needed 4 sets against Cameron Norrie today, a guy that he always beats 7-0 head-to-head now, although Norrie did get a set. That's not a guy that Alexander Zverev wanted to see in the 4th round, I don't think.
No, I remember speaking to Cerundolo at the Davis Cup and mentioning his record against Zverev, knowing that they were going to play as the 2 number 1 players for their countries, and he said, yeah, like, there is something in my game that hurts him, that bothers him, and it's tended to be on clay, but it's also been in Madrid, which Zverev loves those conditions, you know. So definitely Cerundolo can hurt Zverev. We've seen it. That match at the Davis Cup was notable because Cerundolo had no feel on the ball that day. Like, you did not really know what was going to come off his racket, and I don't think he knew either. And you know, I think he made one of the sets much more competitive. I want to say there was a tiebreak, but it wasn't Cerundolo's best tennis by any stretch of the imagination. Whereas today, David, was the opposite. Like, you knew exactly what was coming off his racket. He knew he had the control blended with the power. And when he's playing like that, his forehand is one of the most devastating shots on the tour. I believe he plays with like quite a heavy racket, does Cerundolo. He doesn't actually swing that hard at the ball, but he gets an enormous amount of pop off of it. And today he had the control as well, and there was an intensity about him. He roared with passion when he won the match. Argentinian fans filling the Kia Arena. It was a real scene, a real vibe, and he needs to try and bring that and channel that and have that feel and form on the ball if he is going to hurt Zverev, who is, as we said the other day, playing pretty well in this tournament.
It's not about the amount of fans, Matt. It's about how good they are.
Absolutely right. And the Argentinian fans, always great support.
Thought we were going to get a little Argentinian sing-song from you.
Let's see if he beats Zverev.
Tell you what, if I really do think Zverev is in good form here. I think Zverev's playing better in terms of the way he's going about his business than he was last year when he reached the final. I just think his draw is tough on paper. If he and Cerundolo play like they have, I think that's going 5 sets.
Fun. The final round of 16 match that has almost been set up in this top half of the men's draw today. Alex de Minaur, of course, the last Australian man standing against what looks very much like is going to be the 10th seed, Alexander Bublik. He's currently 2 sets to love up on Thomas Martin Etcheverry. Now, de Minaur beat Francis Tiafoe tonight handily. 6-3, 6-4, 7-5. I wonder, David, I know you and Matt were out on the Rod Laver Arena for most of this match. I wonder if Francis Tiafoe, who's talked a big game about this reset he's had and is having, and he's got a new coach to go with that, somebody who's known him since he was 12 years old, Dr. Mark Kovac. And look, one result does not a reset make. Hopefully he's got a long-term view of this, but I do wonder if right in this moment Francis Tiafoe might be feeling a little bit stunned about the gap between himself and Alex de Minaur that was shown tonight.
I would think so. I certainly was. I thought that Tiafoe was going to make that very, very competitive. I kind of have thought of them in similar breath over the years. I mean, Tiafoe's reached 2 US Open semi-finals, but those first 2 sets, they were in a different sphere altogether, those 2 players. That is as well as I've seen de Minaur play on Rod Laver Arena, those first 2 sets. We were just in awe, really, weren't we, Matt? I mean, some of the some of the we talk about the movement of de Minaur a lot, but I mean, it was just a joke. And then he was cutting off angles. He was deflecting backhand winners down the line. The forehand, which Tiafoe was sensibly targeting, because it's hooked with such flatness that he really has to get it right, because it's barely clearing the net. It can go in the net, and if it goes a little too high, it flies long because he's hitting it so flat. But he was controlling that most of the time. He was awesome for the first two sets, and he could have won it more straightforwardly, couldn't he? He had a break-up, I think, in the third set. Tiafoe raised himself, and I thought at times was playing okay, but de Minaur was absolutely fabulous.
Yeah, it was actually de Minaur who was under a bit more pressure early on, very early on. He was the one having to fight through some service games, and we were talking, David, we liked what we saw from Tiafoe in the initial stages. It looked like he was playing with a purpose and an intent. There was a focus to what he was trying to do, but de Minaur just lifted to a level that he simply had no answer for. I mean, David talks about cutting off the angles. That is the thing that I picked up on and noticed as well. His first movement is diagonally towards the ball, which I know is what sort of all players do. That is the way to move on to a tennis ball, but he does it in such a pronounced way, so quickly, takes your time away, because he's taking the ball, I don't know, 2 feet earlier probably than some players, cutting off those angles. The backhand down the line was an absolute revelation for him. He also used his slice really effectively, I thought. Really change of pace, change of angle, hitting with suffocating depth, some of his returns and rally balls right onto the baseline. He was absolutely brilliant, de Minaur. It's crazy to me that there exists a tennis player who can just swat Alex de Minaur aside in the way that Jannik Sinner has done and can. Because you watch de Minaur today and you think, wow, he's incredible with that speed and the consistency off both ground strokes. And yeah, I thought there was one scene. There was a scene where de Minaur won this incredible long rally, and the fans were up, and de Minaur just looked at his team and stood there fist pumping, and then down the other end of the court, Francis Tiafoe was flat on his back with his racket sprayed away from him, having given everything in this point, but it was just, he had no answer for what de Minaur was producing. And he showed decent fight in that third set, Tiafoe, to get it back on level terms, but then an absolutely shocking miss to give up the break. You just can't be that careless. It was really poor with the forehand put away, and then I think de Minaur was a little tight in that final game, but then another shot that he's developed came on strong, his serve. He found a couple of timely aces to get himself out of that hole. So I really enjoyed the de Minaur experience. I was walking back to the media centre with Charlie Eccleshare, who's on a big Tiger team at Wimbledon in the late 90s, early 2000s. All the expectation, probably not going to win the title, but a lot of people will be hoping and thinking he will, and just gripping a nation and putting on a show. And I do think de Minaur plays that role incredibly well. His record here and the consistency is extremely impressive, and the way he talks about not feeling a pressure but feeling an excitement. And he mostly plays like that. He is impressive.
Yeah, I went through his Australian Open record today. He's played 10 Australian Opens. He's never lost to a player here ranked lower than him.
Wow,
yeah.
Which
Says everything.
I think really tells you something about Alex de Minaur. He's lost to plenty of players ranked lower than him, as most players have, at all the other slams. 2 of them last year. The French Open, he lost to Bublik, didn't he? And the US Open, I think, was the other one where he lost to a lower ranked player.
He lost to Auger-Aliassime last year.
Yes, there you go, who was outside the world's top 20. And okay, that doesn't always tell you anything. You can have players playing way above their ranking, but that stat tells you something about Alex de Minaur. That is so not a given. Think about Amélie Mauresmo, the French Open, and Sam Stosur here, and plenty of other examples. I don't want to hammer them, quite the opposite.
It's hard.
It is so hard, and he always delivers. to his absolute maximum under the pressure cooker of, unrealistic expectation, quite frankly, given what men's tennis looks like right now. And I know that's the job of the broadcasters. The BBC, the Tim Henman comparisons are good. Like, the BBC did it with Tim Henman for years, and maybe it's mostly harmless, but I think I think he's pretty incredible, really, and that is, I'm glad that's being recognised, but I do think Bublik could be a problem, having said all of that.
Well, he's playing hugely explosive tennis. The one thing I would say is that one of Bublik's weapons is the same as one of Tiafoe's, which is the drop shot, and de Minaur made mincemeat out of that drop shot.
Because he's so quick.
Yeah. He reads them, he gets there, and he puts it away.
Bublik's drop shot is better than Tiafoe's, but you've still got to be careful.
It's hard to hit them on a hard court in the same way as it is on clay.
And you mentioned he lost to him at the French last year, and I think he was 2 sets up in that one, de Minaur, and then Bublik played 3 of the most extraordinary sets. It was like, certainly just ripped it from him. And I remember de Minaur thinking that, like he said afterwards, that he really thought he could have done more in that. And I remember my read being, I'm not sure he could have done. Like, Bublik just took it from you.
He had a bit of a tough spell mentally after or around the time of that match, didn't he? I remember him coming into Queen's and saying he was experiencing real burnout. So maybe some of that was going on.
But also, it should be said, clay is definitely de Minaur's weakest surface. That's the one where he's most vulnerable.
A lot of losses to players ranked lower than him at Roland Garros, and very understandably so. Okay, that's it for part 2. Do make sure you stay with us for part 3, though, because I think we've got a debate for Sensation of the Day.
I think so too.
We'll see you in part 3. Welcome back to part 3 of today's tennis podcast. David's still got the koala hat on.
Yeah, can I be Sensation of the Day?
No, David, because you've got, great as the koala hat is, there's stiff competition today. We have 2 submissions, 2 contenders. We have Lee Tu and James McCabe, the Australian wildcard pairing in the men's doubles, who shocked the top seeds and took them out in 2 straight sets. Julian Cash and Lloyd Glasspool, first match of the day on, I think, the 1573 arena, this one. Absolute scenes, as you can imagine, and an incredible victory, okay? That's your first submission.
It's pretty strong.
It is strong. It was the clubhouse leader for a long time, until we met Fred.
Who did he beat?
Potentially everybody.
He bought us beers.
He ambled up to us, David, he had a very cool...
He was cool, Fred. I liked Fred.
He had a cool manner about him. While Matt and I were stood chatting to Matt's parents, ambled up to us, 2 beers in hand, and said, "Matt and Catherine?" We said, "Yep." He said, "I'm here to make a play for Sensation of the Day." And handed over the beers like an absolute rock star.
He also gave my dad a bit of stick about Norrie.
Yeah, he was really cool.
I really liked Fred.
And I want to give it to Fred.
Me too.
No chance.
You weren't there, David. You don't know.
Exactly. I didn't get a beer, did I?
He would have got you on if you'd been there. Fred was that kind of guy.
I think Fred warrants an honourable mention. I think he's had it, but I think that they've just beaten the top seeds and they deserve to be the sensations of the day.
I think Fred was coming back, wasn't he? Maybe Fred can make another play for Sensation of the Day.
Yeah, he needs to come on a day when nobody's done anything.
I think days like that will be available next week.
Yeah,
so do
lots of them to come.
Okay, Fred, come back. Buy us more
Fred.
beers.
We love you.
Okay, Lee Tu and James McCabe, well done. Fred, it's really yours. Tomorrow's order of play, folks. What have we got tomorrow? We start on Rod Laver Arena early at 10:30 a.m. and that is due to the weather forecast for tomorrow. It's due to be outrageously hot, late 30s. In Celsius, it'll feel like a lot more than that on the court. I think it's really good that they've taken this measure. I think it's pretty negligible in terms of the impact it can have. I realise they can't really move the start time much before then, but I think it's going to be a very tough scene tomorrow. It feels like the sort of day when you probably shouldn't be having play during the peak hours on the outside courts. You know, the thought of ball kids being out there in that just doesn't feel right. But it's an outdoor tournament and it's Australia. And
there is a point at which they can suspend play, isn't there? I was looking on their heat policy rules, and there's a dial that it goes through the stages, and if you reach a certain point, you can stop the play.
Have you ever seen that happen here?
I think I have, yes. Yeah, we have had it, and it is only on days like this when you're getting towards the 40s.
Yeah, I suspect if the weather forecast does come off and the temperatures do reach what they're expecting, we will likely end up with a period in the day where players suspended on the outside courts and happening under the roof on the 3 show courts with a roof.
Yeah,
that would seem sensible.
And they've scheduled an extra match on the second court to, I think, try and get another one under the roof rather than on an outside court. Normally there's only 4 a day on the second court, and there's an extra 5th one.
Again,
they've
sensible.
Done a decent job there, I think.
So Rod Laver
turns out you can make sensible scheduling decisions.
It turns out you can do whatever you goddamn well want with the schedule if you really want to.
Yeah, good on them.
Yeah,
you can pick yourself up and move the whole tournament to October.
That's right. We don't talk about that enough, do we?
There are no rules. You just have to want to do it enough. 10:30 a.m. on the Rod Laver Arena, we'll have Karolina Pliskova rolling back the years against Madison Keys, trying to roll back the year. Did that work? Was that anything?
I liked it.
Thanks, Matt. Second on, not before midday, Elliot Spitzeri trying to challenge Jannik Sinner. Good luck, Elliot.
I need to watch this so I can figure out what he plays like, because I haven't watched enough of him yet.
I'd tune in early.
It's a bit harsh to be judging him against Jannik Sinner, isn't it?
Yeah. Good luck, Elliot. 7 p.m. night session on Rod Laver tomorrow. It's the men first. It's Botic van der Zandschulp against Novak Djokovic, followed by Madison Inglis, the last Aussie woman standing, taking on Naomi Osaka on the second court tomorrow. So also starting at 10:30 a.m, Jessica Pegula against Naomi Osaka, who incidentally a lot of people, a lot of ex-pros, a lot of experts, prominent voices in the game have been weighing in on the Osaka Castella gate from yesterday of the last 24 hours, and a lot of people saying they actually think Osaka was pretty out of order for the commands she was doing between first and second serve repeatedly yesterday. And I kind of, I'm happy to defer to them on sort of how okay that is in the unwritten rule book of tennis. I still do think Sorana Castella handled it completely gracelessly.
Yeah, so do I. It's interesting, actually. I didn't watch that live, with proper sound on. I sort of watched clips back afterwards, and I wonder whether that might have changed my mind a little bit, or at least understood the irritation for Castella, because I do think if you are being heard saying things between points, you shouldn't really be doing that.
It was between first and second serves, wasn't it? I mean, the clips I saw, she wasn't doing it when Castella was there ready to serve, sort of disrupting her serve in any way. But I think that the argument that I've heard is that between first and second serves is like, it's the same as it being within the point, like within the rally. And you just shouldn't. It's hindrance to do that, to do something like that within a point, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we had. I was reading some of the chat on the barge about it, and it was split. You know, it was. But a lot of people did feel that it wasn't the right thing for Osaka to be doing. She's always done it, but I've always been aware of her doing it silently. You know, slapping the leg and fist pumping without being audible, which I think is different. But look, I also think that was an awful handshake and not a great visual, but it did lead to some good aggro. So you know, I can't be complaining, can I?
We're on a good run with aggro.
What else?
Yeah, thanks to Putintseva.
Did you have a moment there of forgetting Putintseva? You looked at me blankly.
No, I actually thought you were going to say something else. When you said, I thought you were going to say 400,000 views on TikTok for our clip.
You're like John from last year. The views.
The views.
Everybody loves me.
Yeah, although maybe they don't.
Right.
Typically the ones that get that many views, people do not love us.
The second court tomorrow starts with Jessica Pegula up against the Russian Oksana Selekhmetova, who, quite honestly, I don't know an awful lot about, but if she beats Pegula tomorrow, we will make a point of knowing plenty about her. That's followed by Peyton Stearns against Amanda Anisimova. Ben Shelton against Valentin Vachereau, not before 2:30, the third sort of extra match in the day session tomorrow. It's the moment when we find out how good Valentin Vachereau actually is.
I think that's a good point. I do think that's true. I mean, you know, you can't do it completely in isolation, in as much as he may be better next time or something like that. But I'm really interested to see this as a test.
Absolutely. Me too. 7 p.m. On the second court, Anna Kalinskaya taking on Iga Swiatek, and the men's match second, excellent, Marin Cilic up against Casper Ruud.
Bless him.
We might be recording during that rather than after it.
Definitely possible.
Depends how late it goes.
Ruud is in an Andy Murray 2016 situation, isn't he?
Phone call.
Yeah.
John Cain Arena tomorrow, obviously the third court with the roof here. Lorenzo Musetti taking on Thomas Machac. First up at 10:30. They're trying to get you to go to John Cain. Matt, you got to face your fears.
They might have succeeded. I don't really know where the media seats are on John Cain, but I'm prepared to explore for that one.
And that really tells you how much Matt wants to see that match, because Matt has got a real thing about the John Cain Arena.
Yeah, I really hate it.
Not before midday.
And I know I said that earlier in the week, and Pam Shriver said, "Get over yourself." And I was like, "You're right, Pam. You are right. I'm missing out on, there are good scenes on the John Cain Arena. I know that, and I tend to just watch them on the screen. But okay, tomorrow I'm gonna do it.
Got to find it first." Elisa Mertens against Nicola Bartenkova is second on John Cain tomorrow. Then we got a bit of Intentionally Blank, and from 5 p.m. we have, they write it on the schedule.
Actually write Intentionally Blank on the order of play.
A night session from 5 p.m. Stan Wawrinka against Taylor Fritz. I'm going to go to the John Cain Arena for some of that, maybe. And finally, Elena Rybakina against Teresa Valentova. Karen Hashanov against Luciano Darderi is on Kia tomorrow. Noskova against Wong and Menshik Quinn, and the rest is doubles. That's where we're at, folks. Doubles and contenders for sensation of the day, but you're all having to take on Fred.
He missed out today, so
I'm going to feel sorry for Fred if someone later in the week wins sensation of the day for bringing us beers.
We'll remember you, Fred. We will, I promise. Hello to Gus. I'm looking at a picture of Gus with her back turned to the tennis. Apparently, Renee says, Gus settled into her favourite position, curled up on the floor, snuggled with her mum, locked in for a long night of tennis viewing, currently enjoying Mboko Towson. What taste, Gus? Wondering if it's even possible to stay awake long enough to see her favourite player, Coco, take to the court in a few hours' time. Probably not. Well, you'll get another chance to see Coco in a couple of days against Karolina Mukova, Gus, so settle in for that. Hello to Bodie, hello to Maisie, hello to Roger, hello to Chris, Greg and Jeff, our top folks and executive producers. Matt, let's have some shout outs.
We have Brona Staunton from Dublin.
Hi, Brona.
Hello, Brona. We know and love Brona.
We do, and Brona says, I attended Wimbledon last year with my mum. We had tickets for centre court and we got to see Carlos Alcaraz and Aryna Sabalenka play their quarter-final matches.
Wow.
Superb, Brona.
What a duo.
And Brona also says, I'm going to Roland Garros this year for the first time.
You're going to love it, Brona. You're going to love it.
That's given me the feels. People going to Roland Garros for the first time, having the David Law experience.
Yeah, how long till I can go? 4 months? 5 months? Not long.
4.
I mean, you can go whenever you like. But then
I want the tennis on.
Go and see Amelie.
yeah, she normally does a press conference
go
in
and see
April.
Suzanne.
Yeah, better.
Yeah. Brona, do say hi when you go to Roland Garros, and we'll see you there.
We've also got Mark Lowerson.
Hello, Mark.
Right, Mark.
From Melbourne.
Oh, perfect. Maybe Mark can buy us beers.
Like Mark Woodford.
Although he has been living in Hanoi for 25 years.
Bring one from there.
What do we know? Like Mark Edmondson, who's... It's his anniversary year, this year, of winning the Australian Open, the last Australian man to win it, and he's on the coin toss. It's Mark Edmondson or AO, and every match that I've commentated, they choose AO.
Oh.
Well, these 22-year-olds don't know who Mark Edmondson is, David.
Blooming will get with the programme.
Well, and actually, Mark probably remembers that. Mark says, tennis player and tennis nerd since the mid-70s. First Australian Open attended was 1976 at Kooyong.
Well, I bet he knows Mark Edmondson. Might have seen Mark Edmondson.
Favourite player ever, Yvonne Goolagong.
Oh.
Her,
choice.
Roger Federer and Ash Barty could do anything with the ball.
He's a classicist, isn't he, Mark? Lovely stuff. Thanks, Mark.
And finally, we have Ros van der Zwet.
Right, Ros.
Hello, Ros. Like my mum.
Like your mum?
Is this Ros with an S or with a Z?
With a Z.
Same church, different pew.
Yeah.
This Ros probably gets mistaken for Ross less frequently than my mum.
How does that go down?
She takes it well. Better than I would.
Can confirm.
Ros says we were on centre court for women's semi-finals in 2025 and we were the ones playing Blondie at the live podcast after the match between Sabalenka and Anisimova.
Oh,
remember
yes.
that? I'll never forget that day. Thank you for creating such great memories. Thank you, Ros.
Yeah,
that was
I think
epic.
you did that, Ros. God, what a day.
What a day.
Do you remember there was a Swiatek Bencic match that day? Because I barely do.
No, I can't remember that.
That was a beatdown.
Yeah.
Bencic had a hole in her shoe or something.
Yeah, that rings a bell.
And Swiatek played very well.
Yeah. Ros,
She
thank
played
you.
quite well a couple of days later as
She
well.
did.
Thank you for those memories. Ros, Brona and Mark, thank you very much for being friends of the Tennis Podcast. If you'd like to become a friend, get access to all of our back catalogue and upcoming episodes, bonus episodes, all of our bonus content, monthly live Q&A shows, our history series, Tennis Relived. You get access to The Barge, our community platform, ad-free listening, all sorts of fun. Then the link is in our show notes. Mira Andreeva is jogging to the net, having just beaten Elena Gabriela Rusa. That brings a close to action for day 6. We are part of the Athletic Podcast Network. Thank you for listening. We'll speak to you tomorrow.